Hello everyone, welcome to another Zohar reading for world peace. It's really a big global event this session each week, where we get into reading the Zohar and inviting the forces that we can attract through the Zohar through such a reading. And let us just calibrate ourselves firstly to feel a bit of who's with us from where. Francine from Portland is here, Sylvie from the Netherlands, Julie from Utah, Albert from Germany, Olu from the UK, GP from New Jersey, Tangalora from Michigan, Eva from Woodstock, Ontario, Patricia from Ohio, Michaela from Romania, Carl from Pittsburgh, Troy from Minnesota, Pam from Ohio, Anne from India, Ed from Ohio, Akai from Peru, Monica from the UK, Lisbeth from the Netherlands, Mary from Sackett's Harbor, New York, Ella from America, Lynn from Vermont, Lila from Morocco, Alina from Russia, and Pia from Turkey. I'm sure many of you are also joining in, and on Facebook I don't see anyone writing yet. And just before we get into it, let's prepare our intention as we understand, and with the reading of the Zohar from a Kabbalistic perspective, the main thing here is how we calibrate ourselves to such a reading. As we understand that the Book of Zohar is the major Kabbalistic text that's written from the highest spiritual degrees of a group who attained those degrees of uniting above all kinds of division and differences among them, and wrote to us from those highest degrees. And the main thing during the study is really how we calibrate our intentions towards it. So for that, we'll just read a short excerpt by Kabbalist Yehuda Ashlag, Baal HaSulam, from his article, The Introduction to the Study of the Sefirot. Let's just go to it here, where he says that, therefore we must ask, why then did the Kabbalists obligate each person to study the wisdom of Kabbalah? Indeed, there is a great thing in it worthy of being publicized. There is a wonderful, invaluable remedy to those who engage in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Although they do not understand what they are learning, through the yearning and the great desire to understand what they are learning, they awaken upon themselves the lights that surround their souls. Yeah, so it's really a key excerpt, this one, that through the yearning and the great desire to understand what we learn. What does it mean to understand? It means not just to understand intellectually, of course, but to reach a level where we perceive and sense all these phenomena that are being discussed in the Zohar in their spiritual structures, processes, formations, in the intention to bestow through which we attain and perceive spirituality through. So understanding in this case means the highest level of attainment of everything that we can possibly attain from Kabbalistic study and texts. So everything, by doing so, by wanting to be in what we're reading and to not just absorb it at a corporeal level where we might see all kinds of words that might ignite all kinds of light bulbs in terms of what we understand in this world with a certain word, but really each and every one of those words is just a branch level meaning of a word, of a spiritual phenomenon in its spiritual roots, and that's what it's talking about, meaning that it's talking about inner states, the states of higher levels of desires and thoughts that we attain through the intention to bestow. That spirituality itself is defined by this intention to bestow, and by wanting to be in those degrees, so we awaken upon ourselves the lights that surround our souls. Just like we say that with everything in the wisdom of Kabbalah, the whole purpose of the study, the whole purpose of any kind of reading, all the media, all the texts, everything that we put out on behalf of the wisdom of Kabbalah, that's its goal, that we use it to draw these lights, draw what's called the surrounding light, the or makif in Hebrew, which is the states at a higher level of reality, higher levels of thought, spiritual levels of thought, to actually draw those to ourselves, to invite those into us. So by wishing to be in these states and by wishing to connect among each other, everyone who we heard of now, and I'm sure there's more people joining, in order to draw those higher forces into our lives. So That's what brings these surrounding lights, these lights from very sublime degrees, and that's what really brings upon this state of peace and what can bring about world peace. That world peace, ultimately, as we know, peace in Hebrew is the word shalom, which doesn't just mean, as we understand peace in this world, where, for example, one country not being at war with another country is considered that they have peaceful relations. Yeah. So what we're talking about with peace, shalom, comes from the word for shlemut, which means completeness. So by drawing these forces from those complete levels of the spiritual worlds and the spiritual reality, those forces entering our lives, and the more they organize our lives, is the more we can actually bring upon this state of world peace. So it's a little bit of an intro, and let's get into this week's Zohar reading with the portion of this week, which is Metzorah, the Leper. And we'll get straight into it. Metzorah, the Leper. Section, that you may know there is a judgment. 1. People should guard their way and fear the Creator, so they do not stray from the straight path or breach the words of Torah or move away from it. 2. All who does not engage in Torah and does not exert in it is reproached by the Creator. He is far from him. Divinity is not over him. And those guardian angels that walk with him to guard him depart him. Moreover, they declare before him and say, "Do not be around so-and-so, for he does not care for the glory of his master. Woe unto him, for the upper ones and lower ones have left him, and he has no part in the path of life." 3. And when he exerts in the work of his master and engages in Torah, several guards are ready to guard him, and divinity is over him. And they all declare before him and say, "Give honors to the form of the king. Give honors to the king's son." And he is kept in this world and in the next. Happy is he. 4. With slander, which the serpent said to the woman, he caused Adam and the woman to be sentenced to death, as well as the whole world. With slander it is written, and their tongue a sharp sword. This is why it is written, "Be afraid of the sword, of slander, for wrath brings the punishments of the sword." It is written, the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. The Creator has a sword with which he sentences the wicked. It is also written, "My sword shall devour flesh," which is Malchut from its side of judgment. It is written, "Be afraid of the sword, for wrath brings the punishments of the sword, that you may know there is a judgment." Meaning, know that this is how it is judged. And it writes, "Shedin, there is judgment, that anyone with a sword in his tongue who slanders, the sword that consumes all awaits him, which is Malchut in the discernment of judgment in her, as it is written, this shall be the law of the leper." Malchut, called this, judges the leper, and since he slandered, afflictions come in return for slander. When the night grows dark. 5. As birds trapped in a snare, so the sons of men are ensnared. People do not know and do not hear and do not observe their master's will, and the announcer calls before them daily. And there is no one to listen, and no one to awaken one's spirit to the work of his master. 6. When the night grows dark and the gates close, the nukva of the great abyss awakens, and several armies of damages are in the world. At that time the Creator puts all the people in the world to sleep. He puts to sleep even all those who have awakening of life, meaning the righteous. And the spirits roam the world and announce things to people in their dreams. Some of them are lies, and some of them are true. And people become connected in their sleep. 7. And when the north wind awakens and the night divides, a flame bursts out and strikes under the wings of the rooster, and he calls. Then the Creator enters the Garden of Eden to play with the righteous, and an announcer comes out and calls, and all the people in the world awaken in their beds. And those with awakening of life rise up from their beds to the work of their master, and engage in Torah and in praising the Creator until the morning comes. 8. When the morning comes, all the armies and camps above praise the Creator. Then several gates open to all sides, and Abraham's gate, Hesed, mercy, opens in the assembly of Israel, Malchut, to summon all the people in the world to enjoy the Chasadim, the mercies. It is written, and Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, since Malchut is called Beersheba, and Abraham planted the tree of Hesed in it. 9. And when one cannot awaken his spirit to serve his master, with what face will he rise before the king when judgment is evoked upon him? And he is caught and chained, meaning when he is imprisoned so as to be brought to judgment. He will not have the merit to be saved. It is written about that, as birds trapped in a snare. As they, so the sons of men are ensnared. And before a person leaves this world, the soul with the body are sentenced to several judgments before they part, and there is no one to watch over it. Judgments of body and soul. 10. When the time comes for the soul to part with the body, the soul does not depart the body before divinity appears before it, and the soul, out of joy and fondness of divinity, departs the body toward it. If he is righteous, he connects with her and adheres to her. And if not, divinity leaves him, and the soul remains and walks and mourns for the separation from the body. Allegory. When the cat does not leave the fire, sharpen the knife, and it will follow you, because it will think that you are about to cut meat. Thus it will part with the fire. Here too, when the soul does not wish to leave the body, divinity appears before it and parts toward it, and parts from the body. 11. Afterwards, they are both sentenced by the angel Duma. The body is sentenced in the grave until it returns to dust, and the soul is sentenced in the fire of hell by several judgments, until the time sentenced for it to be punished. After receiving the punishment, it is time for her to be purified. Then she rises from hell, and is whitened from her sins like iron that is whitened by fire. And angels rise with her until she enters the lower Garden of Eden, where she bathes in water and bathes in the perfumes that are there, as it is written, perfumed with myrrh and frankincense. And she stands there until the time she has been sentenced to depart the place where the righteous sit, in the upper Garden of Eden. 12. And when it is her time to reach the upper Garden of Eden, she rises with her, degree by degree, until she approaches the altar as an offering, meaning she rises as man to Malchut, called altar. This is the meaning of the words. This shall be the law of the leper in the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought unto the priest, meaning the highest priest above, angel Michael. This is a soul that was not defiled, so in this world, and can be corrected. Otherwise, it is a corruption that cannot be mended. I'm gonna just rejuvenate the intention now with some words about what it means to read the Zohar by Kabbalist Dr. Laitman. Here we go.
Whoever starts studying Zohar, he does it in order to discover the Creator. This is the definition of the wisdom of Kabbalah, the method for the revelation of the Creator to His creatures in this world. And the Creator is revealed in a Kli. The Kli for the revelation of the Creator is the desire that's in equivalence of form with Him according to the law of equivalence of form. A desire that's similar to the Creator. The Creator is the desire to bestow and love. The power of love, of bestowal, the good that does good. So, how do we come to a Kli, which is bestowal and love, good that does good, if we bond amongst us by the egoistic forces of each and every one, where despite these forces we build a network of connections between us, where toward each and every one it is good that does good, bestowal and love. How do we do that if each one of us is merely but a small egoist? We read the Book of Zohar, where it tells us about different states where we're connected in a good way, and we want for it to realize within us, and then we're impressed by those states. They already exist because in eternity everything exists. And we get an impression from there, and that impression over us, that influence over us, the influence of the corrected states over us is called the surrounding light or the reforming light. And then according to the equation of I have created the evil inclination, I have created the Torah as spice because the light in it reforms, we reform, we return to the good that does good, and we discover the good that does good, our root.
Okay, and let's welcome everyone who's joined since we first read the names, which is Annie from North Carolina, Shoshana from Oklahoma, Sharon from Colorado, Susan from Toronto, Sonia from Oslo in Norway, Zvonko from Macedonia, Simone from Guatemala, Hayes, Martin from Southern England, Valentin from Romania, Henry from Bogota, Colombia, Andy from West Virginia, and on Facebook also we have Mustafa, Elma from Austin, Texas, and Stephen from Michigan. So let us continue. And just like Kabbalist Dr. Laitman directed us there, that we always connect to the goal of these studies and these texts and these readings, which is the revelation of the Creator to His created beings in this world, as Baal HaSulam defines it. And just as we said in the beginning, that by aiming in such a way, seemingly through these texts, and to draw those higher forces into our lives, so that's what accelerates the progress of our connection and progress to that very goal. So with that in mind, let us continue with this reading of Leper, this portion of this week. One Who Slanders. 13. The sun rises and the sun sets. When the soul is with a person in this world, then the sun shines. The sun sets when a person leaves this world. If one repents, he aspires and rises to his place there. If he is righteous, the sun comes and purifies. When the sun comes and he passes away from the world, he is pure, and afterwards will eat from the holy. 14. The Creator atones for all the transgressions in the world through repentance, except slander. When one slanders against one's friend, they asserted it as follows: "This shall be the law of the leper, the law of one who gives a bad name." An anagram for Metzorah, which is leper in Hebrew, is motzi ra, emitting evil. Anyone who emits a bad name, all his organs are defiled, and he should be closed, since that evil speech rises and evokes the spirit of impurity upon him, and he is defiled. One who comes to be defiled is defiled. In a lowly thing, another thing awakens. 15. How the faithful city has become a whore. How did one who was loyal to her husband return to being a whore? She who was full of law is the Creator. Justice is the assembly of Israel, Malchut. And because the Sitra Achra is awakened by the sin of Israel, the Creator, called law, departed from Malchut, called justice, and the spirit of murderers is within her. As it is written, "But now murderers." And if Jerusalem, the holy city, is so, the rest of the people are even more so. As it is written, "This shall be the law of the leper." 16. This, which is Malchut, will certainly be against him, to avenge him, that slanderer. This is because a leper is made of the letters motzi ra, emitting evil. In the day of his cleansing, he shall be brought unto the priest. This means that one in whom there is slander, his prayer does not come before the Creator, because the spirit of impurity awakens over him. When he repents and has assumed repentance, it is written, "In the day of his cleansing he shall be brought unto the priest." 2 live birds. 17. A cedar tree, Tiferet, as it is written, "From the cedar that is in Lebanon," for the plants of a cedar tree, Tiferet, take root only in Lebanon, Bina. 18. To take for him that is to be cleansed 2 living clean birds, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. When a man engages in the work of his master, and engages in the Torah, the Creator is over him, and divinity bonds with him. When a man comes to be defiled, divinity parts with him. The Creator parts with him. All his master's side of holiness turns away from him, and the spirit of impurity is over him, and over the whole side of impurity. When he comes to be purified, he is assisted. And after he is purified and repents, what has departed him returns to him, the Creator and his divinity, and they are on him. 19. It is written, to take for him that is to be cleansed 2 living clean birds. Since he already said 2 birds, I do not know that they are alive. So why does it say living? Indeed, actually alive, as it is written, and I fear the animals. They correspond to the place from which the prophets are nursed, Netzach and Hod, which are called lower animals. The cedar tree is Tiferet, and scarlet is the red side of Gvura in divinity, which partook with him in the beginning. The hyssop is the small Vav, Yesod, which nurses the assembly of Israel, divinity. For this reason, a cedar tree and hyssop, which are Tiferet and Yesod, go together, for they are regarded as one. Hence, there are two Vavs, are as one in the name Havaya. The Vav that is pronounced is Vav. There is one above, Tiferet, and one small, Yesod, upper Vav and lower Vav. And everyone, the Creator, who is Tiferet and Yesod, and divinity return to being over him as in the beginning, since he has been purified. And opposite those that return to him, which are Tiferet, Yesod, and divinity, below they are a tree, cedar, hyssop, and scarlet, which are in this purity, hanging from these high Sefirot. Happy are all who support her. 20. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her, and happy are all who support her. The tree of life is the Torah, a high and mighty tree. She is called Torah because it instructs and reveals what was hidden and unknown. She is called life because all the upper life is included in her and stem from her. To those who take hold of her, meaning those who are gripped to her, for one who is gripped unto the Torah is gripped unto everything, gripped above and below. And happy are all who support her. Who are her supporters? Those who cast stock, who give money for merchandise in the pockets of disciples of the wise, so they may trade with the money and partake in the profit. 21. Her supporters are those who are rewarded with having sons, who are worthy of being loyal prophets, for the Torah implies Tiferet, the guf, the body of Ziranpin, and the Netzach and Hod, which are the prophets, are legs that support the Tiferet, which is the Torah, like the legs of the body. Hence, those who support the Torah are rewarded with sons who are prophets. Meushar, happy, should be read as me rosho, from his head. For Netzach and Hod support the Torah, Ziranpin, from his rosh, from his head, to his sof, to his end, like legs that support the body from head to toe. From his rosh, the rosh of everything, the beginning of everything, chokhmah, the rosh of the whole body, tiferet, and the guf, the body, spreads through the end of the 6 edges, chagat nahi, chesed gvura tiferet, netzach hod yesod. Who support her, his legs are as pillars of marble, meaning Netzach and Hod. For those who cast stock in the pockets of disciples of the wise, support the Torah, from the Rosh to the Siyum, to the end of the Guf, Yesod. And the whole of the faith, Malchut, depends on the Guf, the Torah, and he is supported and is awarded sons who are fit to be loyal prophets. That's all we have time for, everyone. It's been, once again, amazing being with you all again for another Zohar reading. Amazing, so many people, so many of you connect from so many different parts of the world. I'm sure that with such an effort to connect to such lofty texts from so many people with high quality desires and working on their intentions to draw this light into the world, I'm very sure that such a state that is described in these texts, which ultimately leads to that state called world peace, is indeed possible, and by doing such efforts it brings it indeed closer. So on that note, we'll head out once again and look forward to seeing you in other programs this week, and until next week, see you all later.